Welcome to this edition of the MDM podcast. I'm Tom Gale, CEO of Modern Distribution Management. For many distributors, the way they deploy and think about technology has changed, in some cases dramatically, over the past 3 years. Zoom, Teams, Slack, and other cloud-based tools have supported the transition to a hybrid workplace that most organizations have adopted in some form today. The use of robotic process automation, RPA, also accelerated with the onset of the pandemic as distributors sought to automate repetitive, routine back-office tasks, often with fewer team members, or as business growth kicked in following the steep slowdown in the first half of 2020. Our team at MDM thought it was timely to examine the ways distributors are leveraging technology and how its role has shifted within distribution organizations. My guest today is Anna Bennett, Vice President of IT at Hisco, an industrial distributor ranked number 39 on MDM's 2022 Top Industrial Distributors list. In March, there was an announcement that Hisco will be acquired by Distribution Solutions Group and will join Lawson Products, Test Equity, and Gexpro Services as part of that group formed through acquisitions about a year ago. Anna has more than 20 years of experience in leadership roles in software development, QA, training, and support, as well as IT project management. Anna, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here.
So to start, please share a little bit about your background and career that led to your current position with Hisco.
Gladly. I'm so excited to be talking to you. At least I've been listening to your podcast for a while, so this is a real treat for me. I worked in oil and gas, delivering production automation software in the upstream industry for about 20 years before joining Hisco 3 years ago. My experience at Weatherford was centered around software development, software support, business analysis, QA, and training. When Hisco knocked on my door, they were looking to build a QA and a BA team. So I was very excited to have the opportunity to really start from scratch, build a framework from scratch. And what really sealed the deal for me was the incredible culture and the support from leadership, especially around innovation. So there was a real drive coming from the top that was evident even during the interview process. I joined right at the onset of the pandemic, which was interesting, as the director of QA and BA. And so I just got to work and started building the team and the framework. And while doing that, I really had the opportunity to learn a lot about the business, which was new to me, the people, the technology, and I still continue to learn every day. I've been in the role of VP of IT now for 6 months, and I'm very excited about all that is going on in the distribution world and very excited about this acquisition.
I'm familiar with the term QA, but can you just describe that a little bit more? And then you also used another term that I don't know.
So QA is, just quality assurance. Basically, it just means testing. Whenever you are developing software, you want to make sure that by the time the end user gets to try it out, somebody else has looked at it and made sure that it has no major defects. So it's a whole department that is just dedicated at making sure that the software is delivered with quality. So that's QA. And then BA, that might be the other one. It's just business analysis. So basically, understanding requirements, gathering requirements, making sure that when you bring work to the development team, it's complete, it's well thought out, and you're not going to be doing rework again and again because nobody, thought it through.
Great. In my introduction, I outlined some of the areas that we'll touch on today, but I'd like to get your perspective on how you've seen the role of technology shift over the past 3 years.
So from my perspective, I've seen a significant shift. Technology, especially in the last 3 years, I feel has played a bigger role across disciplines. IT teams have evolved to support it. If I think about the infrastructure side, I've seen a shift towards cloud adoption, or at least hybrid infrastructures, right? Where you have some on-premise systems and some cloud-based applications. At Hisco, we are currently in a hybrid model for a few critical enterprise applications, but have really done a really good job of migrating most other applications to the cloud. And this model has allowed us to, scale faster, provide cost efficiencies, what we still are able to control, the critical systems. And our goal in the near future is to fully migrate to the cloud. So we're well on our way. And then if I think about maybe the application support framework side, I think that it has also undergone notable changes in the last 3 years. From my perspective, some of the big ones are DevOps adoption. So, continuous integration, automated testing, which, ties back to my move to Hisco to building a test automation framework, right? I've also seen wider use of containerization, and we've actually benefited drastically from using containers. I'll give you a really powerful example. A couple of years ago, whenever we had to onboard a new developer and we had to build a system so that they could start working and coding, it used to take us a few weeks by the time it was ready for them to be productive. And after just really smart work from our dev team, now it takes us a matter of hours to just spin up a brand new container that has everything they need to get to work. So it's amazing, how much it can help. I think, for example, application security is another big one, right? With all that you hear of, vulnerabilities and security breaches. So vulnerability scanning very early on in the software development cycle has been a big shift as well. And we've adopted that. It really gives you visibility, like I said, early on, but it starts building a secure coding practice, right? Because when you're a developer and you're writing code and you check in your code, you run some analysis and you see right away, oh, there's a vulnerability here, you kind of just start learning. And as you learn, the next time you're coding something, you already know I have to do it this way, I have to do it that way, I have to make sure that it is secure. Seeing that trend as well. But my favorite one is automation, of course. So automated testing, using AI, or even machine learning. We've seen a strong interest from different areas in the company to drive operational efficiency through automation, which is very exciting.
For a little bit of context, how many employees and number of branches are you supporting with your team?
We have 35 locations, total employees, a little bit under 700.
The term tech stack is increasingly used to talk about the integration of technology that's required to support a distribution or other type of business. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about the term tech stack, and do you think it's helpful to get other team members to think about what you're trying to do in terms of building out capability as far as technology?
To me, tech stack describes the technology choices a company makes to conduct business. So basically, it's choice of ERP, of warehouse management system, transportation management system, it's choice of CRM, e-commerce platform. I find it helpful to get other team members to understand what's available as far as technology that can support them in advanced growth. I've been very lucky at Hisco because there's a strong appetite from the business to better understand our tech stack and explore opportunities, and they come up with ideas, and they reach out and do some brainstorming and see what we can come back with. Of course, that is an ideal environment for any IT team. We really have a lot of room to explore and find some of these opportunities. We work hard at integrating whatever technologies were selected, to support processes, to improve operational efficiencies, and also just to improve communication between different functions. I'm a fan of sharing the technology stack and just talking to the business about some of these opportunities.
Yeah, great. I'd like to talk a little bit about automation. You touched on it, but can you share a couple of examples and what you've seen work really well around automation and where you've seen automation have the largest impacts in the business?
Absolutely. Automation, what we found has worked really well has been testing. So testing our software applications, testing our e-commerce site, testing our ERP system, our CRM system. And we started on our test automation journey, like I mentioned, 3 years ago when I joined. And we've built test automation to, for example, replicate our e-commerce checkout process and validate that the order makes it all the way to the ERP, right? So these comprehensive tests run headless daily. They email a detailed report with failures and specifics on like this is the line of code where it broke. And so this really allows us to quickly respond to issues before they make it to a production environment, or even in a production environment. If we may, lose a connection to our tax engine, right away we can tell that, hey, there's something going on because we have these tests running and informing us. We can also just run them on demand. For example, after we deploy a new version or an update, we run through the automation tests to ensure that no negative side effects resulted from recent code changes, or nothing big broke. And for the impact, we measured significant reduction in regression cycle time. So that's just the time it takes us to test the entire application from like beginning to end, all the areas. We usually run regression tests like after an upgrade or some major changes to like code that is very deep within the code base. And it used to take us 2 to 4 weeks to, for example, test an upgrade in our e-commerce platform, right? Because it was just very manual and just not as structured. With test automation, we brought that number down to 3 to 5 days, which has had a large impact on our ability to absorb an upgrade within a sprint and still deliver features and bug fixes. Whereas before, we were going to do an upgrade, like that was all we were doing for a good 4 weeks, right? Wow. Nothing else. So we definitely saw a big change there. And we also measured a reduction in escape defects, which of course saves you time, right? If you work on a fix, deliver it, and it's a solid fix, it doesn't come back to you, it's great. It helps build the credibility of the team among the end users, because there's nothing worse as an end user to you report a problem, it gets fixed, you get all excited, and then a week later somebody deploys something else and it's broken again. That has been really nice to get some feedback from end users that, hey, we're seeing less escape defects as a result of this test automation. Another area where automation has worked really well for us is during the onboarding process for new hires. So our infrastructure team built an automated process flow that takes the information from an electronic form, routes it to multiple groups for processing, approvals, notifications. The hiring manager will get to choose some options, and then provides updates as some of those tasks are completed, all the way to the end when, for example, you're creating accounts, you're providing access to shared drives, distribution lists, and all those processes. And what we saw as the largest impact from this automation was just a reduction in missed steps or missed configuration, because it's just really easy you're doing this a lot and you might, miss, this step or that step, or adding somebody to a distribution list. And if you have a clear to-do list, and if there's some approvals and some automation, then it's harder to miss something. You get an email reminder that, okay, this hasn't been done yet, or there's a clear log of who worked on what and when it was delivered. So that has been a big one where we've seen some wins. And we're also in the initial discovery phase of a few automation projects that I'm very excited about, that I think have strong potential, leveraging AI and trying to automate simple repetitive tasks that are taking some of our team members just time every day out of their day, and provide operational efficiencies that way. So a lot coming up as well.
Can you talk a little bit about Hisco's transition in early 2020 as it pivoted to a virtual working environment?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I lived this transition firsthand, joining Hisco in April of 2020. And wow. My onboarding was completely remote. Like I came to the corporate offices for my interview, and then I did not step back in until about 18 months later. So it was definitely, I got to try it out by myself. And the IT team at that time under Gary Neiman pivoted to a virtual working environment better than most, in my opinion. Pretty much everyone who could work remotely already had a laptop, and the team was quick to procure peripherals and ship them out to employee homes. There were, of course, some adjustments required to ensure network performance was adequate and reliable connectivity for applications that were still on premises, which required a virtual private network connection. But in general, no major efforts were required to be ready to support a large number of remote workers, given Hisco's early adoption of many cloud-based services and platforms. And once the virtual environment was clearly going to last longer than we hoped, there were a few things that the team did, like migrating to Teams for telephony, in addition to just messaging and collaboration. We did have to iron out some issues at the beginning with calls getting dropped or lack of bandwidth to support video when on a call. But once those were resolved, it has proven to be a pretty solid platform for us. We continue to leverage it today. Also, I think that since early 2020, I've seen some evolution on the service and security fronts as well. We have definitely, the team has had to focus a lot more on security with so many touch points across. You used to have an office to office, maybe 35 branches, and now you've got touch points all across the nation. So it was definitely a shift. Then right now we are in a hybrid schedule. So most employees can work 2 days remotely and 3 days at the office. And our team has had to learn to service and secure laptops remotely, because even though we might be past the pandemic for the most part, the hybrid nature of the work is still here. So we've stepped up to the challenge, and our team now deploys software tools remotely in a very effective manner, again securing laptops pretty much without any touches, which is pretty exciting to see. And the nice thing was that they were able to do it quickly, as I imagine a lot of companies had to, right? You just had to adapt as quickly as you could.
So as you look at a technology portfolio in 2023, what are the essential components in terms of customer engagement, employee engagement, analytics, to give the organization better real-time visibility and data to make decisions with?
And I think the most essential component for customer engagement as it relates to technology portfolio, in my opinion, is a CRM system. So we recently migrated to a new CRM system that is integrated natively with a case management system. And it has been a good switch for us so far. Again, we're really at the early stages, but it allows us to capture customer data from various touch points and provides us with a more complete view of all customer interactions. We expect to gain a lot from that particular technology choice. Also, for customer experience analytics, I think is another important component to gain insights into customer preferences and behaviors across channels. Some other tools like AI-generated product recommendations are becoming essential for customer engagement because, even though we work in the B2B space, B2B customers expect an Amazon-like experience online, whether they're buying for work or as a direct consumer. So I really see that as something that's becoming more essential for customer engagement. For employee engagement, I think just solid collaboration and communication tools are essential, as are employee development tools, such as like performance and talent management systems, which both provide the opportunity to provide and receive feedback. So our HR team just launched an AI talent marketplace service to drive employee engagement and promote internal talent mobility. And they have received positive feedback from the pilot group. And so I'm really excited to see the impact this will have on employee engagement. Again, we're on the early stages of that as well. And then moving on to analytics and business intelligence components, I think that a scalable and robust business intelligence platform is essential in a technology portfolio and will be this year. So, the ability to visualize data from almost any source within the company, analyze it, that is a game changer that has, transformed the way decisions are made. The right platform not only makes data available to everybody that needs it, but it empowers anyone interested in gaining insight into trends or finding abnormalities, by just going to a dashboard or filtering a report or chart down to, your specific zone, your specific customer, or this specific range of time. What used to involve 2 to 3 days for a developer to generate a new report and make it available to a user now takes a couple of minutes to add some fields, a filter, and you have the report you're looking for. It has really changed the way we consume data and how decisions are made.
It's not a crystal reports world anymore.
Not anymore.
With the accelerating pace of new technology and initiatives just these past few years, what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced as far as implementation and adoption?
So one of the biggest challenges we faced in the past few years was migrating from a GUI-based, like desktop ERP, to a web-based ERP because of the magnitude of the change and the number of users that were impacted. It really was a long endeavor that moved through various stages from discovery to delivery, and it involved many groups: project management, training, development, testing, consultants, subject matter experts, to get it all done. We had to adjust the implementation schedule multiple times. We had to push out the go live date multiple times, but in the end, we came up with a solid phased rollout, which turned out to be a key factor in the success of the project. As one of the biggest challenges, I considered also one of the biggest successes because users can't imagine going back to the GUI-based desktop client. And I attribute that in big part to the extensive training schedule and the retraining that continues even a year after the last department went live. It is hard to imagine that some of our very vocal end users who were skeptical about the web client and just really struggled through the transition are now like evangelists of the same. So it's been very interesting to just observe the transformation. And again, very challenging. Everybody had to contribute. And now that we're on the other side, I even used it as an example, as a reminder when we were going through the CRM migration, right? Like, okay, remember how the ERP migration was? Okay, we're on the same boat. Like, it's hard right now, but we'll get through it. And just think how fast you are now on the web-based ERP, right? And how comfortable you are. And that's how it's going to be. We just have to give it a little bit of time.
Yeah. How do the skill sets of a distribution IT team look differently than 5 years ago? And how do you see them shaping here over the next few years? One of the reasons I was excited to have this conversation with you is because it feels as though as soon as the pandemic hit, and you talked about this a little bit, the complexity of IT support teams all of a sudden went from, I won't say easy, but it was fairly defined in terms of whether it was by the headquarters and branch location serving, and perhaps some remote, whether it was the salespeople or whatever. But overnight, essentially, there was this transition to having to, as you described, all of a sudden deploy laptops, get people set up and terminals out, and really figure out how to get people productive as quickly as possible. So I've got to believe that what worked in terms of a productive IT team in 2019 looks very different today.
I agree with you. I think that 5 years ago, a distribution IT team looked quite different, especially in the areas of cloud computing and infrastructure, cybersecurity, data analytics, and automation. So I think the shift towards cloud started a few years ago. I expect we'll be seeing the need to grow expertise in these areas definitely in the next 3 to 5 years. So it will become a must for an IT team to be skilled at deploying, managing, optimizing cloud resources and the cost associated with cloud resources as well, because that is a big challenge for a lot of companies. The same thing goes for cybersecurity, which has, exploded in recent years. And, given how hackers are leveraging the same technologies we are, I expect they're going to get better at what they do. So a distribution IT team, infrastructure and security must get better at securing networks, conducting vulnerability assessments and excelling at incident responses and just really being prepared and planning ahead. 5 years ago, not every IT team had a business intelligence team, but now I think, again, it's a must. And we need the skills in data visualization, analysis, modeling to be able to serve the business. We have grown our BI team as well, and they are a busy team for sure. That's definitely something that looked different. And I think is just going to keep growing the next 3 to 5 years. And then as far as automation, I think it was probably the least prevalent skill set between, among a distribution IT teams 5 years ago. But now, and I think in the next 5 years, it's going to become very prevalent. I think that teams are going to need to develop skills supporting low-code and no-code automation solutions, designing workflows, automating processes, leveraging, generative AI and other natural language processing technologies like ChatGPT. There's a strong demand for that even now at our company. Another skill set that I've noticed has become crucial in the last few years are soft skills. Because IT teams, have typically been, technical, and the technical skill set has to be there. But now that we have to really communicate and collaborate with all the business units, it's really important to be able to develop and have the soft skills to get our message across and be able to better support all of the business units. So I think that's going to become a critical one as well.
Interesting. A few years ago, nobody knew what a ChatGPT prompt engineer was, but it sounds like from what you described is that's going to be one of the skill sets that's going to be an important component for the capability internally to be able to effectively leverage specific AI applications.
Absolutely.
Anna, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Tom, thank you very much. I had a great time.